So today, we're going to talk about something called Arreqqana ethics. Think of it as a really practical guide for getting through those tricky conversations we all have to have, but doing it with real integrity and, compassion.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question we've all faced, right? Is honesty always the best policy? I mean, you know that exact moment. A friend asks what you really think of their new project, or you have to give some tough feedback at work. We're always told to just be honest, but is it ever that black and white?
Well, according to the Arreqqana approach, nope, it's not that simple at all. It's not about these rigid, hard and fast rules. It's really all about balance. See, truth is obviously super important, but it has to be weighed against other things. Things like someone's dignity, the timing of when you say it, and just our basic responsibility to not hurt people. The whole point is to keep your integrity, for sure, but without just bulldozing over everyone. So, okay, that sounds good in theory, right? But how do you actually do that? Well, that brings us to our first big idea here, the compassionate truth. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of how to say what needs to be said, but with real care. And here's a tool for your toolkit, and honestly, it's so simple but so powerful. It's called the three-question test. Before that hard truth comes out of your mouth, just pause and ask yourself these three things. 1. Is it actually true? Like, are you 100% certain, or are you just worked up and reacting emotionally? 2. Is it necessary? Is saying this thing going to help the situation, or are you maybe just trying to vent your own frustration? And finally, 3. Is this the right moment? Because let's be real, timing and context can change everything. Let's look at a real-world example of how this plays out. You could say, you failed completely. Oof, that just crushes someone, right? But what if you used the compassionate approach? This didn't work out the way we hoped. Let's dig in and see what we can improve. See? It's the same core message, but one preserves dignity and actually opens the door for growth, while the other just slams it shut. I love this quote because it just nails the whole idea. Truth should illuminate, not wound. Think about that. In this way of thinking, truth is like a flashlight to help people see, not a weapon to hurt them. It's about clarity, not causing pain. Okay, so we've talked about speaking the truth, but what about not speaking? Let's build on that. Now we're shifting gears a little to the whole ethics of withholding information, because it's not always a simple choice between spilling everything or telling a lie. There's this whole spectrum in between that we need to understand. So first up on that spectrum is privacy. And Arreqqana ethics sees this as totally healthy and, in fact, necessary. It's just about having healthy personal boundaries, The stuff that protects your inner life, your thoughts, your family issues, your own private struggles. It's got nothing to do with being deceptive. It's actually a form of self-respect. All right, moving along the spectrum, we get to secrecy. Now, this is a bit more intentional. It's when you actively decide to limit who knows something. But, and this is key, it's not automatically a bad thing. I mean, think about it. Planning a surprise party, that's secrecy. Having a confidential chat with a friend, secrecy. So it can be totally neutral or even a good thing. It really all depends on why you're doing it. And then we get to the far end of the spectrum, and this is where the philosophy draws a really hard line. Deception. The difference here is the intent. Deception is a deliberate attempt to make someone believe something that isn't true, usually for your own benefit. And it's so damaging ethically because it completely destroys trust. You're basically taking away someone's ability to make their own choices based on reality. So here's a little table that puts it all together really clearly. You can see that clear progression, right? Privacy is all about protecting yourself and building self-respect. Secrecy, well, it's in the middle. Its impact is neutral. It all comes down to the why. And then you have deception, which is purely destructive. It just damages and destroys trust. Having these distinctions is so useful. Okay, so let's dig into that murky middle ground a bit more. When is secrecy actually okay? When is it ethical? This next part is all about figuring out that critical difference between a secret that protects and a secret that just causes harm. Let's put them side by side. On the one hand, you've got protective secrecy. This is the kind that guards someone's dignity, keeps them safe, or respects their boundaries. But on the other side, you have manipulative secrecy. This is the kind that's used to hide bad behavior, to exploit someone's trust, or to duck out of being held accountable. It's the purpose of the secret that makes it either right or wrong. Now, here's a really fascinating application of this idea. Think about spiritual traditions or ancient lineages. Sometimes they restrict who gets access to certain teachings. And from the outside, that might look like control. but it's often about stewardship. The idea is that some knowledge is guarded to make sure a person is mature enough to understand it, or to stop powerful practices from being misused. It can even be about preserving the cultural heart of a tradition.
And this quote just sums it up perfectly. Wisdom knows when silence protects truth and when silence hides it. Man, that's good. It means that staying quiet isn't automatically good or bad. It all boils down to your intention and the outcome. Real wisdom is being able to tell the difference, knowing when your silence is a shield for something good and when it's just a hiding place for something bad.
All right, let's wrap all of this up and bring it home. Our final section is called Clarity with Care. And honestly, this phrase is the guiding star for this whole way of thinking. Because at the end of the day, this is the whole point. What the Arreqqana approach really shows us is that you don't have to pick between being honest and being kind. It's not a choice. The real goal is to be both. To act with total integrity, but to always deliver the truth in a way that respects people's dignity and actually builds trust instead of tearing it down.
So if there's one single thing you can take away from all this and use in your own life, it's this final question. The next time you're stuck deciding whether to say something or stay quiet, just ask yourself this: does this secret protect dignity, or does it protect harm?
That one question, think of it like a compass. It can help you navigate all those messy, complex situations we find ourselves in. It moves us away from just following rigid rules and towards a more compassionate, aware way of being. Just imagine what could change in our relationships and our communities if we all started using that as our guide.